Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AWS Public Sector Symposium Canberra 2024.
Behind me in just a moment, you'll see some artwork. This artwork was commissioned for all of our Amazon entities in Australia. It represents our initiatives with reconciliation and our Reconciliation Action Plan. It's fitting, therefore, that we introduce today to welcome us to country, Uncle Billy, Ngunnawal and Wiradjuri man and part of the Stolen Generation. Will you please join me in welcoming Uncle Billy to welcome us to country?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are we? It's good. Only -1 this morning, but yeah, who's looking at the temperature? My name's William Tompkins. I'm a Ngunnawal Wiradjuri man. People in my community here in Canberra know me as Billy T, because I like the cup of tea. So I'm a stolen generation. Back in the day when the government had a policy of removing children from their Aboriginal families, I was one of those. Taken away at 8 months old and placed in an institution for Aboriginals and other races that were needed to be taken away from other country around Australia. I'll get more into that later. I also work with the Jalambani Circle Sentencing, which is the ACT courts and tribunals, and we have a panel of 4 elders. I'm one of those. We have 2 women, 2 men, and we sit there and we listen to the defendant's plea. Then we talk it over with the judge or the Supreme Court judge, and we define and determine what their sentence will be. Just a little bit on my other activities in the community. I'm also on the board of the Stolen Generation, and we help our mob get back to country, get back to their families, and there's still thousands of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander mob out there that don't have families, don't know where they're from, don't know their culture, don't know their language, and that's our main aim, is to help those people out there. In the community, we do voluntary work with the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Rugby League at Bulmanala Oval. So we do a lot of work in the community. There's me, there's myself, Morris Walker, Dale Huddleston, Esma, and a few others, Buddy Martin and the like. But in the community, this is what we do. This is what I do in our community, and doing things like this, welcoming people from all around the world to Ngunnawal country here in Canberra. So. On behalf of my elders, my father, Harold Crowe Williams, and the community here in Canberra, welcome to Ngunnawal country. Buru Yeramara, 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 Ngunnawal Dooda, Mambadi, Ngunnawal Dooda, Mambadi. Yerma, Mamari, Ngunnawal Dooda, Mambambi, Ji, Ganjambi, Mambambi, Ji, Ganjambi. Yugriba, Yerma, Malia, Mabere, Ngunnawal Dooda. Yugriba, welcome. Thank you very much.
More information is power, and the more information we have, the more informed decision making we can make into the future.
We've taken 8 of our largest clinical applications and we have migrated them up into the AWS cloud.
With AWS Cloud, we were able to put our learning material online, whereby students will be able to access this at their own pace of time.
We think about a problem that we can solve, but we don't worry about how we're going to host it or how we're going to scale it up. That is a solved problem for us, and that's massive.
We really wanted to be able to focus on connected vehicle applications, not the IT stack.
Open, easy, free access to our data sets for researchers all over the planet.
We're able to get the time for processing flood imagery down from hours down to a matter of minutes.
All that information going up to the cloud and then coming back down again into the race cube at Sydney. That is a world first. The successes that we're experiencing here is absolutely in conjunction with AWS.
Please welcome to the stage, Ian Rouse, Amazon Web Services.
I'd also like to add our respects and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and importantly, acknowledge the Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander, Māori and Pacifica folks joining us today. We appreciate what you've done to care for this country, and we hope to follow in your footsteps soon. Welcome. G'day and kia ora koutou. Thank you for joining us today for the Amazon Web Services 2024 Symposium here in Canberra. It's an absolute delight to be with you again today. We've got some fantastic customer stories spread throughout the next few hours. I don't think you'll leave empty-handed. This is a premier forum. It's a forum where leaders get to exchange visionary ideas, gain valuable insights, and cultivate relationships to drive innovation and growth. I encourage everyone here today to use this opportunity to connect and to explore the extraordinary opportunities that can be brought to life by the cloud. Thank you for joining us, and I'm grateful for the time you've spent with us today. Can I start by extending a special thanks to our sponsors? You'll see on the screen many organisations, large and small, and we're particularly delighted that small and medium business are growing successfully on AWS and are sharing those opportunities and learnings with you today. The people on the board, the organisations on the board, the folks that turn up to your customer sites represent the full range of AWS's capabilities for public sector organisations. We deeply appreciate your contribution. And we thank you for your ongoing, outstanding commitment to driving transformation. When you're looking for customer stories and you're looking for folks that'll help you solve complex problems, can I just encourage all of you to spend some time in the expo today? You'll find innovative solutions from our outstanding partners that extend the capabilities of Amazon Web Services. You'll find some live demonstrations. You'll also see latest trends, and it's an opportunity to discover and experiment with new possibilities for your business. You know, whether you're at the start of your AWS journey or whether you're exploring advanced technologies like generative artificial intelligence, check out the Ask the Expert kiosk for real-time guidance. Today's symposium event has it's chock-a-block. It's full of customer stories and features, and today we've got content lined up specifically tailored to all of you. We've got more than 30 breakout sessions across 4 tracks and 11 fantastic case studies. You'll find sessions on modernisation, digital sovereignty, cloud security, responsible AI, and generative AI. There are sessions for everybody, no matter your role or level of expertise. So fill your boots and spend the day with us. One of our focuses at AWS is nurturing Australian and New Zealand innovation. And we build upon this with over a decade of investment in Australia. Since 2012, when we opened the AWS Sydney region, we've invested more than $9.1 billion into the local economy. What's important, though, is we're nowhere near being done. We've just committed an additional $13.2 billion in investments through to 2027. This is the largest technology investment in Australia's history. Now, if we go across the Dutch, we've got to make sure we include the Kiwis as well. And in New Zealand, there's another $7.5 billion being invested across the next 12 to 15 years. In New Zealand specifically, we're going to add about 1,000 new jobs and about $10.8 billion to its GDP. Every month, hundreds of thousands of active customers use AWS to solve citizen-facing challenges, many with sensitive and classified workloads, supported by our thousands of partners across ANZ. At AWS, we're comfortable and committed to the following role, that we need to act as a catalyst for growth for our customers and partners across both our amazing countries. The numbers are enormous. To think about upwards of $25 billion in investment across two countries for a population combined of around 32 million people is unprecedented. But it's just not enough. To leverage this investment, we need to build capability. And the capability we're building the most now is called skills, skills for our future digital workers. This capability training involves training and upskilling of employees, of course, enhancing their digital literacy and technical skills, with the outcome of making them better equipped to leverage technology for improved service delivery. To help build capability in Australia's economy and to assist with hiring challenges, we're helping to address the digital skills gap through education, training, and support. Be it through programs like AWS Skill Builder, providing 600 courses for free, including courses on Gen AI, be it the AWS Skills Guilds, where we work hand in glove with customers to scale to their specific workforce in a short period of time, or be it the work we're doing through programs such as AWS Restart, where we're reaching out to other parts of our diverse economy, including places like retail and aviation, and helping those folks obtain skills and join the digital workforce. Over 400,000 people have been trained by AWS since 2017. And whilst we want to celebrate that, empowering these folks to have strong digital careers and have a strong foundation for the future, there is just so much more work to do. We cannot lay still here. And so we look forward to working with industry and tertiary organisations and, of course, the government to collaborate, where we allow more Australians and Kiwis to upskill in hours and days rather than months and years. For more than a decade, public sector organisations have placed their trust in AWS, and we're proud to see our technology addressing major societal challenges. With years of investment, skill development, customer experience, and an expansive partner ecosystem, the public sector has reached a tipping point in cloud adoption. With a strong foundation of cloud knowledge and proven use cases demonstrating how cloud can transform our businesses, this tipping point is more than a shift in technology. We're enabling a new foundation of capability, which allows public sector organisations to extract value and productivity in the years to come. The cloud opens up new horizons. Public sector organisations can do things that weren't possible only 5 years ago. This tipping point is a pivotal moment. On a personal note, this is a video from a recent dash cam. So in January, I was going for a bit of a drive. You'll see the state of the roads a little bit dodgy. In this particular drive, I was exploring outback Australia. This is my digital detox. And in this circumstance, it went from a sunny, clear day in northern Queensland to a bit of rain and some quite dubious road conditions. And I was sitting there wondering, I wonder if there's a way to solve this. Was I going to get an alert on my sat phone as I toured? And it made me think about what our customers are doing in far north Queensland and around Australia. And you wouldn't believe it, we found a local government authority called Carpentaria Shire Council who's working with the Local Government Association of Queensland, LGAQ, to solve this very problem. The council faced broad challenges: staff safety, The fact that they have to drive 3 or 4 hours to inspect a road to see if it's flooded and then drive back again, quite extraordinary. This is the before photo of a camera pointed at a road that could be flooded. If you notice the timestamp, less than 24 hours later, something will change in just a moment. The model was built using artificial intelligence. It detects flooding using services such as SQS, S3, DynamoDB and ECS to provide a scalable serverless architecture using cameras, which are about a couple of grand each. And this is now extended and used by more councils. So here's the after result less than 24 hours later. These are things you want to know when you're driving in the outback. And so we've now got council with capability with the LGAQ, and this technology has now been broadly scaled, which we love to hear. It's now scaled across Western Downs, Whitsunday and Longreach. You'll see them in some of the breakout sessions. Do yourself a favour and come and listen to their story. You know, last year my colleague Simon Alicia spent some time around generative AI. In the background you'll see a very straightforward example where text is being written and asking a graph to change its dimensions and scale. I'm playing this again because just 12 months later we've gone from an example on a screen to generative AI in production. You'll hear more about this in our keynote in a few moments' time. Adopting a culture of innovation is key. We need to remove the existing constraints and think beyond them in order to innovate as quickly as possible. You'll see a recurring theme in today's keynote. We're going to call it document summarization, a fantastic starting point as you explore this new technology. Close collaboration matters with our customers, with our partners, and with you. We've got artificial intelligence and machine learning experts who will help guide you. You'll see someone in the expo, and our partners are now building new Gen AI competencies to make sure they can give you the best advice possible. You know, I find the current adoption of Gen AI across public sector remarkable. The openness and the culture of experimentation that I've seen for customers and partners is just inspiring. And where we are today, we've got digital licenses in some jurisdictions, and we want to start automating life events to reduce the friction of just existing in this great country. And so we all want a result from that. You know, this is more than a catchphrase for us, it's a fundamental belief. It's the unrelenting force that propels us to constantly invent on your behalf. Just as your mission is to serve the citizens of Australia and New Zealand, our mission is to equip you with the world's most transformative cloud technology. Something that's never changed with our team is that we're guided by you. Our unwavering philosophy is simply that your priorities are our priorities and your mission is our mission. Something else that hasn't changed is that customers and partners want a vision and delivery of inclusive citizen services enabled by new technology around AI. In a moment, we'll hear from our Vice President of Worldwide Public Sector, Dave Levy. He'll share some stories from customers and doing incredible things with AWS and our partners. In closing, can I ask you all, encourage you all to start your journey with unwavering ambition and reimagine what's possible by eliminating constraints. At AWS, we are deeply committed to a public sector that accelerates innovation for the public good. And we're just getting started. Can you please join me in welcoming to the stage Dave Levy.
Thank you, Ian, for that great introduction. And his only ask of me today was that everyone bear with my very Northeast American accent. And I'm just excited to be here in Canberra this morning. So good morning to everyone. You know, I visited Australia before, but this is the first time I'm here during the Summer Games. And I've always admired your competitiveness, but it's on an entirely different level during the games. In fact, I had to beat Ian in a fencing duel just so I could do this keynote. But all jokes aside, I mean, Aussies have competed in and won at least one medal in every edition of the modern Summer Games since 1896. In Paris, Australia has more than 460 athletes, which is astounding. in a country with a population of 26 million. Out of the 45 sports, only 3 don't have an Aussie presence. Fencing was one of them, which explains why I'm on stage. The same drive and tenacity that you bring to sports also applies to technology, where Australia punches way above its weight. And exciting things are happening here. And as the technology arena fills to capacity with new features and new advancements, Australia is always a medal favorite. And I'm here today because of AWS's deep commitment to Australia and New Zealand. For more than a decade, we've provided solutions, technology that you use to improve the lives of Australians and New Zealanders, and together we're continuing to drive innovation, economic growth, and digital transformation, while also addressing sustainability. According to a new study commissioned by AWS, our infrastructure is up to 4.1 times more efficient than on premises. And when customers' workloads are optimized on AWS, the associated carbon footprint can be reduced by up to 99%. Minimizing our environmental footprint is part of our track record, and it's ingrained into our business. In 2019, we set a goal to match all of the electricity used across our global operation with 100% renewable energy by 2030. Last month, we announced that we met that goal in 2023, 7 years early. That means for every kilowatt hour of energy that Amazon consumes is matched with renewable energy, which is a remarkable achievement. This milestone includes 7 renewable energy projects right here in Australia. Last month, our commitment to Australia reached new heights. The Australian government announced a $2 billion strategic partnership with AWS to provide a top-secret AWS cloud. Now, this top-secret cloud will be purpose-built for Australia's defense and intelligence agencies to securely host sensitive information. It's also going to enable the seamless sharing of classified data between Australia's national intelligence community and the Australian Defence Force. The investment also unlocks new artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities to maintain Australia's strategic advantage. And AI is a hot topic in Australia's public sector. The government released a national framework for AI assurance. The framework provides an approach for safe and responsible AI, and Australian public sector customers can count on us to help develop and deploy solutions with responsibility at the core. Now, for example, the Australian Securities and Investment Commission, the Australian Prudential Regulation Authority, and the Reserve Bank of Australia engaged AWS to build a generative AI proof of concept to compare, query, and summarize documents. Prioritizing responsible AI projects, this proof of concept achieved promising results, including as much as 93% confidence in some of the model outputs using publicly available documents. The experiment has been shared with dozens of other regulators and provides a glimpse into the future of regulatory practices and financial oversight. I'd encourage you to learn more about this collaboration in a breakout session in AIM 103, and that's going to be at 1 p.m. today. So we're committed. AWS is committed to the responsible and secure design and development and deployment of AI models. We believe that responsibility drives trust, trust drives adoption, and adoption drives innovation. And we believe there are also 8 core dimensions AWS has when developing and using AI. The first is controllability, to manage AI system behavior. Privacy and security when collecting, using, and protecting data and models. Safety, to block harmful outputs and misuse. Fairness, to avoid unintentional bias. Veracity and robustness, to prevent inaccuracy. Explainability, to better understand AI system outputs. Transparency, to enable more informed users. And governance, to follow best practices throughout the AI supply chain. Together, these dimensions are the building blocks for creating a safe and innovation-friendly environment. Innovation is a central theme for the Australian Epilepsy Project, or AEP. They're pioneering a transformative platform to benefit the 2.5 million Australians who will have a seizure in their lifetime. Hosted on AWS, AEP is building the world's largest multimodal data set for epilepsy. The data set integrates MRI scans, genetic tests, cognitive assessments, and medical records from patients. AEP uses AWS, including generative AI, to lead a data-driven revolution in neurological care that improves the outcomes and reduces healthcare costs. So we're so thrilled to have Donna Hutchison, AEP's executive lead from the Florey Institute of Neuroscience, here today to tell us more. First, before Donna comes out, let's watch this video.
Seizures took over my life, so I would have quite convulsive seizures. I was a teenager, so couldn't go to sleepovers, go out to parties, and couldn't study.
When I was diagnosed with epilepsy 20 years ago, it was an awful way to live.
Clearly this is a very common neurological disease and it has really wide-ranging implications when it comes to health, safety, independence with driving, employment, cognitive functions, so their concentration, their attention, their thinking, their learning, problems with their mood and with anxiety and with depression.
A lot of epilepsy diagnosis is done in silos. People will have an EEG, they'll have an MRI, some genetic screening. The one thing that this project offers is an integration of all that.
If we can develop a diagnostic tool, we can then disseminate that to anyone. You don't have to be an epilepsy specialist like me.
This is a model that's outside the bricks and mortar of a hospital, and yet it's taking the expertise that's currently only contained in a hospital out there to the whole population. Instead of having to get to a centre after years of waiting and finding the right person with many false starts, we meet people in their homes at the start of their journey.
I've been seizure-free for 5 years. It shouldn't be that I'm lucky.
It's been 12 years since I had surgery, so a long time. I hope that others can have the same benefits that I've experienced.
From the Australian Epilepsy Project, please welcome to the stage Donna Hutchison.
My niece Livia was 3 years old when she started having seizures, or sparkles, as my sister affectionately called them at the time to help make sense of what was happening for my niece. Not long after, Livia was diagnosed with frontal lobe focal epilepsy, and for the past 10 years has been living with epilepsy, managing her seizures through medication. She's a happy, clever and creative teenager who loves horse riding and playing netball. Livia's epilepsy journey is a lucky one. For many people living with epilepsy, though, the journey is often a long and debilitating one. Amanda, pictured here with her beautiful son Hamish, and Rachel that you met in the video earlier, both talk about it taking years to find the right diagnosis that ultimately led to their life-changing condition. Their life-changing treatments. And yet again, Amanda and Rachel both consider themselves to be lucky. At the AEP, we don't want to rely on a system of luck or postcode lottery. We want to build a brain healthcare platform that is accessible and life-changing for all Australians. And why is epilepsy important? Because 1 in 10 of us will have a seizure in our lifetime. 1 in 25 will be diagnosed with epilepsy. More than 50 million people worldwide live with epilepsy, and around 30% or 15 million can't find treatment to help manage their seizures. So they're unable to drive, they're unable to study, and they're unable to work. Epilepsy is the second most burdensome neurological condition behind dementia, and people living with epilepsy are 3 to 6 times more likely to die early. One of the reasons that sudden, unexpected death is so high in epilepsy is a lack of access to an accurate diagnosis at the point that someone has their first seizure. At the AEP, we're helping to solve for this issue by establishing a national network of clinical testing hubs and integrating research into the clinical workflow at the point that patients need it most. The second big problem we're solving for is uncertainty. So some of the most difficult questions that a neurologist must answer for a patient is, will I have another seizure? Will this medication work? If this medication doesn't work, will I be a good candidate for surgery? Currently, the best form of prediction is not much better than the toss of a coin. But this is where recent developments in technology are really helping. To help reduce this uncertainty, the AEB, through its research, is combining advanced imaging with cognition and genetics and artificial intelligence to better predict health outcomes for people living with epilepsy. And doing it at a lower cost, because epilepsy is expensive. It currently costs Australia around $12 billion a year. Therefore, small changes can have a big impact. Our health economic modelling shows that even a 5 to 10% reduction in seizures can lead to $1 billion in healthcare cost savings and productivity gains in the long term. It currently takes about 20 years on average for someone living with epilepsy to get access to the kind of testing that we are providing as part of the AEP. It is our vision to make sure that the AEP becomes a standard of care for all Australians experiencing seizures. Unlocking research has been a really important design principle for us at the AEP. Too often research remains stuck in databases, in labs, in scientific publications, and it can't find its way to the patients who need it most. The AEP baseline report that you see up here means that every participant in the project gets access to their testing results through their neurologist at day one, rather than waiting for years to find out the outcomes or understand what the outcomes are from a research project the size of ours. Using technology, we're not only unlocking 30 years of past research and making it accessible, but we're also bringing forward 30 years of research and making it accessible for clinicians and patients through our baseline assessment report. We've made referring a patient into a research study as easy as ordering a pathology test. But the AEP is more than a research project. We've built a brain healthcare platform to translate research into clinical outcomes at population scale. This supports our whole approach to integrating research into the care model for clinicians and for patients. We think of it as research as care. Our model consists of a digital referral platform that is supported by a national network of clinical testing hubs, and then our knowledge processing platform facilitates the collection, storage, and the AI-driven analytics that spans imaging, genetics, cognition, and medical history that can be then used for research and for clinical care. I encourage you to join my colleague, Anton De Vega, here on the stage later today, because he'll be hosting a breakout session and going into a lot more detail around the AEP's collaboration with AWS and how they've helped us turn our design dreams into a reality. So seizure prediction is one of our main aims here at the Australian Epilepsy Project. But to get to that point, we see the importance of using machine learning techniques to underpin the efficiency of our processes, but also to build trust into our clinical model. One of our first models that we've built is the Medical History Explorer. Our clinical trial assistants are currently using this to search and capture data on behalf of all of our study participants, reducing the time that it takes to locate and analyse data from hours to seconds. But soon we'll be giving clinicians access to this Medical History Explorer, which is critical to building trust. Because in time, clinicians will be able to review predictive, data-driven predictions as part of their patient summaries, and we want them to be able to validate the assumptions. Another model that we're continuing to build out, and it will continue to build trust, is our Scientific Literature Explorer, which means that clinicians can search for published research papers when reviewing their patient summaries to again validate their findings. We're halfway through our data collection process, and we've already had many participants who've had received life-changing diagnoses because of the AEP. This includes genetic results with family implications, fast-tracking surgical interventions, and confirming non-epilepsy conditions, because ruling out an epilepsy diagnosis at onset is just as important as ruling it in. Epilepsy, whilst critical, represents only part of the solution. As we know, brain health, more generally, presents us with one of the greatest challenges of the 21st century. As populations continue to age, neurological conditions are going to put more and more pressure on the bricks and mortar healthcare services. So at the AP, we're already exploring other applications for research and diagnostic support, including but not limited to dementia, movement disorders, and sports-related concussion. One of my favourite parts of working at the AUP is our incredible network of lived experience ambassadors and healthy volunteers. Collecting brain scans and cognitive profiles of healthy volunteers for our control group is really important because it helps us validate the efficacy of our study and build a data bank for future brain research. If you'd like to get involved and donate your brain to research, feel free to scan the QR code and one of our amazing AUP team members will be in touch. All you need to do is donate your time for an advanced imaging scan together with a cognitive test which is conducted online. Likewise, if you have lived experience with epilepsy or know someone who would benefit from our project, please get in touch via our website. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you today our vision and progress of the Australian Epilepsy Project. In collaboration with AWS, we've been able to make our design dreams for a healthcare platform a reality. This is what healthcare innovation looks like. Thank you.
You just heard about AEP's critical mission and how they're using AWS to help Australians with epilepsy. AEP is among a growing number of healthcare and life sciences organizations using generative AI. They're using their data to accelerate diagnoses, enhance treatments, and enable precision medicine. GE Healthcare, whose products touch more than 1 billion patients globally, is another example of a company leveraging generative AI to create new possibilities. 2 weeks ago, GE Healthcare chose AWS as a strategic cloud provider to help fast-track the development of AI applications and improve medical diagnostics and patient care. GE Healthcare plans to use AWS infrastructure and AI technologies to accelerate innovation. Through this strategic collaboration, GE Healthcare intends to build Gen AI apps, help power workflows, and help improve delivery of care and increase the accuracy of screenings and promote equitable access to healthcare around the world. We're on a mission at AWS, a mission to democratize generative AI, to make it safe, to make it easy and cost-effective for our customers, so our customers can build, deploy cutting-edge solutions. Now, a lot of you are eager to unlock this potential, but you're unsure about how to move from prototype to production. That's why in June, we launched the AWS Worldwide Public Sector Generative AI Impact Initiative. It's a 2-year initiative designed to help public sector organizations innovate in support of critical missions using our generative AI services. As part of this initiative, AWS is committing up to $50 million in AWS promotional credits, training, and technical expertise across generative AI projects. The Impact Initiative is open to existing and new public sector customers and partners around the world. So some of you will be excited to explore the Impact Initiative, but if you're not quite ready, we've also built a comprehensive generative AI stack to guide you. Now, at AWS, we see 3 big areas in this stack. Each of those areas is a gigantic opportunity we're investing in deeply. At the foundational layer are the capabilities for building your own large language models. This requires powerful compute to train the models and run the inferences. We've built our own custom silicon like Trainium, our training chip, and Inferentia, our inference chip. Now in the middle layer of that, those services allow you to use the powerful foundation models. You can customize them with your own data or even import custom models and easily build high-quality generative AI applications. This is where Amazon Bedrock comes in. Amazon Bedrock is the easiest way to build generative AI applications. You can choose from a wide range of high-performing foundation models created by all the leading AI companies, all through a single API. And it's Amazon Bedrock's breadth of choice that lets you experiment and choose the right models for your use cases and requirements. Amazon Bedrock is a fully managed service, and it's available in the Sydney region. It became available in the Sydney region in April, and the public sector here is already using it to transform their organizations. For example, the University of Melbourne built a secure platform on AWS with generative AI with their own data. And the university is expanding their use of Amazon Bedrock to build bespoke applications, all while maintaining the high standards of security, privacy, and operational performance. I really encourage you to learn more about what the university is doing in their project in the breakout session. That'll be in AIM 104 at 1:55. Now, the middle layer includes guardrails for Bedrock, which helps you implement safeguards for generative AI and customize to your requirements and your policies. Guardrails for Bedrock can detect hallucinations and safeguard apps that you build using custom or third-party foundation models. Its safety features block as much as 85% of harmful content. And our Amazon Titan family of models, which are available within Bedrock, further support responsible AI. All Amazon Titan Foundation models detect and remove harmful content from the data. They reject inappropriate user inputs, and they filter model outputs. And finally, at the top layer of this stack are the applications themselves, including Amazon Q. Now, while we're building many of these applications, we expect the vast majority will be built by third-party developers. Amazon Q is a generative AI assistant for work that helps you write code, answer questions, generate content, solve problems, and even manage your AWS resources. We're close to making Amazon Q generally available in the Sydney region, and I encourage you to start experimenting with it as soon as it's here. One of your peers already is. Swimming Australia leveraged AWS technologies to enhance its training program ahead of this year's Games in Paris. Swimming Australia is also developing a custom athletic improvement system using Amazon Q. This use of Gen AI will give coaches real-time swimmer data and analysis during training sessions, and it's going to also help them understand data and insights from the training overall. The stack from top to bottom is designed to make it easy for you to build and scale generative AI solutions tailored to your use cases, your customers, and your data. Data is your differentiator. It's a critical part of building generative AI applications. To make the most of it, your data needs to be up to date, accurate, discoverable, and available no matter where it lives and resides. The first step is to store your data in the cloud. Customers whose data is in the cloud are able to move quickly in their generative AI journey. because they got a grasp on the governance, the quality, and the usage of their data. These organizations have a much easier path forward to using generative AI. And many of you rely on data that's already on AWS, and that's a good thing because you can start applying generative AI to understand and leverage existing data in new and exciting ways. With the data there and ready, it's low risk. It's a very low risk starting point. And all that data, whether it's financial data or government data or patient data or other highly sensitive workloads, it requires a secure infrastructure. And security is our top priority and the foundation for how we support all of our customers. And we have hundreds of security services and features, and we're architected to be the most secure global cloud infrastructure. Public sector customers trust AWS to maintain the integrity of their most sensitive assets and missions. We help you prioritize governance while you explore and incorporate technologies like generative AI. For example, the Victoria Office of Public Prosecutions, or OPP, is using Bedrock to create a generative AI-powered legal assistant. Now, we're going to learn more about this from Sam Jones, OPP's Executive Director, Corporate Services. But first, let's watch this video.
I'm here with Abby Hogan, who is the Solicitor for Public Prosecutions, or effectively the head of the Office of Public Prosecutions. Abby, do you want to tell us what the Office of Public Prosecutions does?
Sure. So the Office of Public Prosecutions prosecutes serious crime on behalf of the Victorian community and on behalf of the Director of Public Prosecutions. So we have about 400 staff at the OPP, and that includes lawyers, social workers, and we have a corporate services staff that support us also.
And can you give us an example of what are some of the serious crimes that might come before the Office of Public Prosecutions?
The serious crimes that people would be familiar with are things like fraud, drug trafficking, sexual offences, homicides like murder and manslaughter, culpable driving, a myriad of offences, but those are some of the most serious ones that we prosecute.
And how do those serious cases end up before the OPP?
So if police investigate a crime, so they do the investigation and then they compile a brief of evidence, which is essentially all the things that they've discovered in that investigation. So it might be things like statements from witnesses, transcripts of interview, other bits of evidence, so some maybe CCTV footage or photos. They'll compile all of that for us and then they'll essentially send that over to us and we will prosecute the matter.
From Office of Public Prosecutions Victoria, please welcome Sam Jones.
Hi everyone. I'm here today to talk about the OPP's digital transformation journey so far, and in particular, the work we've done with AWS developing our own generative AI prototype. Our CEO, Abby Hogan, who you saw in that intro, was due to give this presentation. However, Abby is unavailable today, so I'm here instead, and I have the privilege to talk to you about what we've been doing. Before I continue, I just want to pose this question to you to consider. I'm not going to ask for an answer. Is it possible to steal a sunset? So have that in mind as we go through the demo. So just a bit more about the OPP. We're an extremely varied practice. We deal with Supreme Court murder trials and even pleas in the County Court for drug trafficking, very varied. Non-court days are spent preparing briefs of evidence across all stages of the prosecution process, and that might involve reading and analysing briefs, preparing material for counsel, liaising with police, or conferencing victims and witnesses. We're a very busy litigation practice, and our people work very hard in service to the Victorian community. Our digital transformation was informed by many competing and changing factors. It really meant that we needed a circuit breaker. Those briefs of evidence that Abby mentioned in the video, they're now far more complex and voluminous, with increasing amounts of police body-worn camera footage, CCTV evidence, and mobile phone download data. It's just getting more and more intense. We're getting more and more material. We're also in a dynamic law reform environment. We've got new offences, changes to legislation, changes to regimes, and changes to victim rights and entitlements. Post-COVID, like everyone, our budgets are constrained, and we need to look at doing things smarter and without funding to put on additional staff. With our staff, we place great emphasis on the well-being of our people, and we want to make sure that they're supported and they're given the right tools to deal with the exposure to the traumatic content that they deal with. It's a very intense workload that they have. Finally, we want to continue to deliver against our mission of high-quality prosecution services to the Victorian community. So for our digital transformation, as an executive team, we began focusing on how technology would help deliver better systems for our people and to the community that we serve. We started with some robotic automation processing, and we got some confidence there, and that led to us replacing our case management system, and that gave us even more confidence to be more innovative. That led to us dipping our toes in the AI water, and we were very fortunate that AWS could see the potential in our ideas, and we partnered with them in an AI exploration project, which we entitled Amicus X. Amicus being the Latin word for friend. At OPP, we might like to dabble with technology, but we do still love a 2,000-year-old Latin term. So with AWS, we started with the working backwards technique, and that's a way of zooming in on a specific problem and a solution. As a group, we found this really useful because we had a lot of use cases, but it helped us to collectively land on the problem statement that you can see up on screen there. And that gave us something bite-sized that we could just tackle off and bite-sized that we could bite off and tackle. So what did our AI exploration project actually explore? What did it look like? To explain that, I've just got to jump back a little bit about a fundamental about our work. And if you watch shows like CSI or Law and Order, you'll know that we have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the alleged offending against the, we have to prove beyond reasonable doubt the alleged offending against the evidence that we have in our brief. For all the briefs that we receive, our solicitors analyse and chart evidence, and that can take days for many of our larger briefs where there's multiple offences and multiple witnesses. What our AI project did was build a secure large language model within our own ecosystem that would ingest the police brief, summarise the offending, chart the evidence, provide hyperlinks back to the brief, provide some notes and insights, and give you the ability to ask questions. We fed in Opedia, that's our knowledge management system, in its entirety, and we made sure that we were feeding in other inputs like legislation and court bench books. So now let's just have a quick look at a police brief. So this is a mock brief, and this brief alleges that Adam and Eve victim was celebrating their wedding anniversary at the Sunset Spot, a nice rooftop bar, when the sunset suddenly disappeared. A mysterious male figure was seen fleeing the scene, carrying a stick-like weapon believed to be a magic wand. The accused, Jack Moon, was arrested the following day and charged with 2 counts of armed robbery. The brief that you're seeing here contains summary information, and what we're looking at now are the charge sheets from the police. There's 2 of those to reflect the 2 different charges. We're coming now to the witness list. We've got 5 witnesses here. And then you've got the witness statements. You might also have handwritten statements, other statements from witnesses. Remember, this is just a mock. There would be much more material in a real-life brief. We have an exhibit list, and this is typical of what we would see. You might have things like maps, and in this instance, we've got a map of the location, some photos of the Sunset Bar, and some CCTV footage of before and after the alleged theft. We've also got a photo of the alleged weapon, a magic wand, and a record of the interview with Jack Moon, where he made a no-comment interview, unsurprisingly, and he had no prior criminal history in Victoria. So that's what a typical brief could look like, but it could be a lot bigger, contain a lot more information. So this is Amicus X. And we've already loaded that brief that we just saw into the system. Clicking that summary button there will produce a high-level summary of the offending, and that's come up on the screen. And then it will also produce a chart of evidence. And you can see it's putting those things through there. And I'll come to each of those elements now. And you can see this is doing it in rapid real time, and it might take our solicitors days to do this sort of thing for a much larger brief. So we'll hone in on the elements. The first one here, and you can see what it's doing is it's charting the information from the witness statements and putting in hyperlinks back to those statements, taking you back to the relevant part of the brief. The first element that we need to prove is that the offender was the accused. That's what we call identification evidence. What it's doing is it's extracting what the witnesses say in their statement and highlighting that. If we move through the elements, the next is the offence occurred at the time and date and the place alleged. And what you can see is it's pulled through the timestamp from the CCTV footage. The next element is that the accused actually committed the robbery. And this is where it gets really interesting. The tool has picked up that we've got no evidence that proves this element. That's because Adam and Eve, or the Sunset Bar, none of them had possession, control, or proprietary interest of the sunset that was allegedly stolen. So they didn't own it, and neither did you. So in effect, you can't steal a sunset. Further, what it's showing is there's no evidence that the accused used any force on the victims or put them in fear that force might be used. So our case is showing some potential weaknesses. And if you're the solicitor, this is automatically pointing to you to some things that you might want to consider. It's giving you a nice head start on your brief. The next element that we've got here is for armed robbery, you need to be armed with a weapon. And the tool has found that there's only one reference to that in a witness statement to a man holding that stick-like weapon, the magic wand. And then just delving a bit more into the magic wand, to prove another element, we've got to prove that the weapon was in fact a weapon. And the tool has picked up that there is no evidence that stick-like object seen by the witness and described as a magic wand meets the definition of a prohibited weapon under the relevant act. So again, if you're the solicitor, you're quickly reading this chart of evidence, and you're thinking, oh, we might have some problems how we're going to prove this case here. The next thing that it does is it gives you notes or insights. We can see that happening there. And these are all things that Amicus X is alerting the solicitor to consider, so it's leading you towards these things to have a look at. What we can see is it's picking up the identity of the accused, of the offender, as a really key issue, and also some other issues in proving those elements of the robbery. Then it gets really interesting here, and really quite incredible. It's elaborating on what additional evidence or clarification might be needed. It's demonstrating that it's able to interpret the law and knows how to apply it. It's also summarizing and pointing out key facts, key issues, and estimating where in the prosecution process this particular case is up to. Lastly, I can use the tool to ask any questions I want about the brief. Perhaps I want to drill down into discrepancies between the witness statements, so I'll ask it that question, and it has a list of previous or common questions as well. And then the tool is giving us more detailed observations in response to those questions and concluding with some, identifying some key discrepancies and highlighting the inconsistencies in the statements. We're really excited at OPP. This is a really promising prototype, and it's proved the value of this bit of work. We're committed to working with AWS to continue the development, and part of that will be for the tool to be ingesting real-life briefs with real offending. As you can see, we used a mock one in this instance. We see it as a real critical tool to assist our people, our solicitors, with the work that they do. There's a lot of exposure to content that they have. They're exercising using a high cognitive load. And what this does is it summarizes a lot of the information and enables them to get to the higher value, higher meaning level of work, things like critical case analysis, decision-making, and exercising judgment. We're also really excited by the potential that this solution has for others that we interact with across the justice system, like the police and courts. Lastly, to conclude, just some things to consider for your own AI project. Think about a quick win. For us, that was just ingesting that one Jack Moon brief and proving the value. We did that mock brief so we could move really quickly. Consider your inputs and consider how you keep that current. For us, that's legislation, which is often changing, so we need a dynamic way of keeping that updated. And lastly, start the conversation internally about the ethical and appropriate use of AI and how that might guide your solution and any internal change management processes that you may have. Thank you.
Modernization requires the right people and resources. So let's talk about training and education. In December 2020, we pledged to invest hundreds of millions of dollars to provide free cloud computing training to 29 million people worldwide by 2025. More than 1 year ahead of schedule, AWS surpassed this goal in July, and we've helped 31 million learners from 200 countries and territories build their cloud skills through free training initiatives. And surpassing that 29 million milestone, it's really just the beginning for us. Amazon continues to invest in providing free and low-cost cloud computing and AI training for people of all backgrounds and skill levels. The goal is to build an inclusive pipeline of talent worldwide that is prepared to tackle the AI-enabled future of work. And as part of Amazon's recently announced AI Ready initiative to provide AI skills in training to 2 million people globally by 2025, we've introduced free courses to help learners prepare for AI jobs. It's investments like these that will have a direct impact on Australia's workforce. A recent research commissioned by us found that while hiring AI-skilled talent is a priority for 2/3 of Australian employers, 75% struggle to find AI talent they need. And in the same study, 84% of the Australian employers and workers said they expect to use generative AI in their job within the next 5 years. So it's clear that we've entered the generative AI era. Now, I hope you approach this era with curiosity and wonder. I know I'm inspired. I'm inspired by the transformative potential of generative AI. And this technology emerges every single day. We're determined to put that power in your hands. It can help you reimagine and strengthen your mission. And I think the key is having the right foundation in place. And that's why AWS offers the world's most comprehensive, secure cloud. From the chip infrastructure for building your own models, to the services that make it easy to leverage existing AI, to the powerful applications that are going to redefine entire industries. Technology advances at a staggering speed, but we're here to help keep you at the forefront. We've got the fastest pace of innovation in areas like machine learning and Internet of Things and serverless. And since 2023, we've launched hundreds of AI and ML capabilities into general availability. Now, you may have heard customer obsession is one of Amazon's leadership principles. And at this rate of innovation, it's a good indicator of just how customer obsessed we are. We obsess because we believe that you, the public sector, can be and will be the driving force and a guiding light. Because your missions are too important and your impact is too profound. Now, as you leave here, I want you to channel that same fighting spirit of the athletes competing at the games. Reach for and take your place on that podium. Harness generative AI and put it to work for your most ambitious goals. Be the pioneers, the trailblazers, the visionaries who will define the future of this technology. The future is now, and AWS is committed to being your partner every step of the way. Now, really quickly, before you leave here today, please take a moment to provide your feedback on today's session. And thank you for your time. I'm going to go practice my fencing a little bit more and enjoy the rest of the symposium. Thank you.